All right, guys. You guys all went and saw Rush this week. I didn't end up being able to go make it. Let's see here. Chris, you also saw another movie, which we'll get
Yes.
into after our review of this movie and before spoilers of this movie. If that makes sense.
Yes.
All right. So, what do you guys think of Rush? I mean, it looks interesting.
Instant, basically top five movie of the year for me, at the
Oh,
very
holy
least.
shit.
It
Um,
is incredible. Yeah, go ahead.
I went into this, because I was just doing this show. It's like you said, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, it's been out here for about a month already, and I was looking at it going, this is not my kind of film. Enjoyed the fuck out of it. Easily about one of the best films I've seen all year, easily. And I'm really not into the. This one thing I do want to point out. This is all a true story.
Yeah.
Some people don't get that for some reason. I've had people come up to me and say it's a bit unrealistic in places, but I'm like, dude, this all happened.
Yeah.
And we'll go into that in the spoilers. But for a based on real events sort of film and all this sort of stuff, I can't say enough good words about it.
It is an absolutely great movie. For those of you who don't know what it's about Formula One racing in the UK, or I guess in Europe. I guess
It's
is where
Europe, yeah. Well,
based.
it's worldwide.
Yeah.
But the
It seems
two
to have some sort of
protagonists are
base.
Europe.
It seems to have some base in Europe. But 1970s Formula One racing, and about a particular rivalry that happened between James Hunt, played by Chris Hemsworth, and Niki Lauda, played by Daniel, and I'm going to screw up his name because there's an umlaut over it, so I don't know how to fucking pronounce it, but Brule.
Rule, yeah.
During the 1976 Formula One World Championship Cup. And it is a fantastic movie. I thought this would be a little bit boring because, first and foremost, the trailer, every time I saw it, kind of felt like it gave away the whole movie. Because it really kind of lays everything out up until the final race.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, that was a bit strange. But when you get into this movie, first and foremost, Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Brew act the fuck out of this movie. They are utterly outstanding.
Who knew Thor could act?
He is great in this movie. He and Brule really just absolutely captured, because this movie kind of comes down to one thing. It comes down to the fact that James Hunt and Niki Lauda are two very different people, but are rivals with one another. And it's sort of that very it's sort of that perfect kind of rivalry where these are two people who they despise each other, but at the same time they respect each other so much they're constantly pushing each other.
I remember thinking halfway through towards it, well, just, after the event, shall I say, and it made me realise that these two guys, it's kind of a weird scenario with them. They're so completely different, yet so exactly the same at the same time.
Yeah.
It was. I was thinking about it. It's just like, wow, that's weird.
I have a question, though.
Yes.
On this banner that I'm looking at, which is actually a UK banner, let me just get that out of the way, because it says in cinemas September 13th.
Yes.
No. Is this movie tense and thrilling?
Yes.
Yes.
100% it is. There is a lot of... All right, here's the thing. This is based on a true story. If you don't know the true story of this Formula One season and anything like that, for the love of God, do not read what happens.
No.
Because you will remove everything from it. Because
Sorry, go on.
if you go into this not knowing what's going to happen, and you understand it's based on real events, but you go into it kind of just expecting the story of a good kind of rivalry, sports, suspense movie, it's fantastic. It's got a lot of really good turns to put you on. There's a lot of growth in these characters. You learn to love them, you learn to hate them, you come to love them again, and you kind of come to get somewhere in the middle where you're like, these guys are both kind of shitheads.
They do spend a good chunk of the film in who's the bigger asshole contest.
It absolutely is. And ultimately, I think Chris Hemsworth's character, James Hunt, comes across as the much bigger asshole.
Bit. Yeah, a little bit.
But we'll save that for spoilers.
But that was reflected in real life as well. That is as they do in the closing epilogue.
Yes, but it really does have a lot of great tension to it.
Yeah, I mean, from obviously because I'm European, well, English. I live close to Europe. Obviously, I'm much more familiar with the Formula One history and the rest of it. I knew of Niki Lauda. Honestly, I had never actually heard this story because although I watch it every weekend, I'm not a huge fan. I don't go into the history of it. But yeah, I mean, because I didn't know much about this, nothing was spoiled, other than the fact that I know who's alive and who's dead. If you know what I mean. But that's yeah. Do not look up this film. Do not research this film. Even now you know it's a true story. Go watch it.
Yeah, you'll really take a lot out of the movie if you know what happens at the end.
So that means don't listen to the spoilers at the end of this.
Yes, I really cannot. I'm going to try not to really get in too specific when we get into the spoilers. So even if people do want to hear a little bit more about the movie and don't want the
we're going to spoil the shit out of it. We have to.
We
always do. But
all right.
But when it comes, it's their choice. If they don't want to know, they don't have to listen.
Fair enough. So I am still going to try to pull away a little bit, but I just keep
Gavin, make sure he doesn't.
Okay.
But
everything he skips, you tell.
Yeah, this is absolutely 100% a movie I highly recommend. I saw Don John earlier, and Don John, not to get into that right now, but I love Don John. I was like, that is my movie of the year right now. And then I was going into Rush like, I already saw my movie of the year right now. Hopefully Rush isn't too much of a disappointment. I left Rush like, that actually may have been even a better movie. So this is... I did not go into this expecting a lot, and I came out of it being like, wow, that was a lot of fun. It's a long movie. It's a 2.5 hour long movie, but honestly, it feels long, but I can't think of anything I'd cut. Ron Howard actually does an incredible job of pacing this movie, of keeping scenes just as long as they need to be without making them feel really curt, short, or unnecessary. Mm-hmm. He does a really good job of shooting this movie. It looks absolutely brilliant. I guess that's, almost goes without saying of Ron Howard at this point, but it truly is built an absolutely great movie, and the acting in it is just incredible.
Don't let the fact that this is a Formula One movie put you off. If you don't know anything or have any interest in Formula One, you do not need to know anything about the sport, anything to do with anything, really. Just go and enjoy this as the movie it is, because it's fantastic.
Because it's a story about two people. It's not a story about Formula One.
Yeah, this is very much, it's a story in the world of Formula One, but not about the world of Formula One.
The only key factor that Formula One brings into it is that it's a ridiculously dangerous sport that is unnecessarily dangerous.
Yeah, in the 70s, there were almost no safety rules at all.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy some of the stuff that's. But no, Lauda and Hunt are great characters on their own. There are some moments with Lauda that are just absolutely brilliant. He has such a way of talking that's just so hilarious. You'll actually get some pretty good laughs out of this movie, too, because he's such a little shit sometimes. It's so great. Just that one scene in the hospital. I won't get into the details of it. I guess I can't get into the details of it until we get into spoilers. But everyone in the theater just started laughing because it was just like, "Yep, that's Lauda from everything we've seen."
This is the one. Yeah, I was thinking that one myself.
Yeah. I should note there are other people in this. Olivia Wilde is billed as being in this movie.
She is.
Kinda.
Olivia Wilde is so hot.
For 3 scenes.
Is she the nurse?
No, she's the one Hunt marries. Susie Miller.
Oh, the model. Yeah, yeah.
But she's not. She's in the movie, but she's not really.
Is she skimpy?
No.
Damn.
You don't get. All right. Here's the thing. This is the closest we've gotten to at this point. If there are any ladies listening, to seeing Chris Hemsworth naked. You don't get dick, but you get everything else of Chris Hemsworth in this movie. Or guys,
there is one scene when the dude basically belly flops onto his bed. I saw something.
Yeah.
Be careful.
For guys, a lot of titties in this movie.
A lot of nudity in this one.
I came from Don John, which was a movie about porno. Still more titties in Rush.
It was the 70s, man.
I know. There are a lot of tits in this movie, so it's great on that regards, if nothing else. But yeah, Olivia Wilde's in it. She's not really in it, though. Alexander Lara plays Marlene. She's really good in this. It's actually just a strong cast across the board. There's no one who I can really pull out as being like that guy dragged the movie down. Great visual effects too, with some makeup effects they do towards the end for these characters. Um, yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I could really point at this movie and be like, this was,
This was bad. We needed.
Yeah.
This needed to go. Or
I think the worst thing I'd say about it is that it's long, and you'll feel that it's long, I think. But I don't think that's necessarily negative because there's nothing I'd really take out of the movie. I think maybe its weakest point is at the end after most of it's kind of died down, the action. But it's still.
I kind of disagree with that. I honestly didn't think it felt long at all. I mean, it is a 2-hour film.
A 2.5 hour.
2.5 hours. Jesus, no, it never felt anywhere near that long.
Okay. Well, I'd
me-
also been at the movie for an hour and a half beforehand. So
Fair enough. For me, it felt like about an hour. It really did fly by.
yeah, I mean, it can. But yeah, no, again, there's nothing to this movie where it feels long and you're just like, it's not like Prisoners, which we talked about the other week, where I was just like, this is an obscenely long.
oh, goody! Now he gets captured to another fucking half hour.
Everything that's in this movie feels like it absolutely should be there.
Fuck that movie.
Before we get into spoilers, then as just a rating to give this movie, I give this a solid A.
Easy.
This is absolutely it's close to almost an A plus, but I'm going to give it an A. I think this is absolutely a film you should see. If this isn't, this should be a contender for film of the year. With the Oscars, I don't know what the fuck is coming out that'll probably get it instead. But this is a great
Avatar
movie.
2.
Hope not. This is a great movie. I think almost anybody should be able to enjoy this. If you like good, cinema, this is a fantastic story.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a guy helps a little bit, just because the rivalry is so intrinsic, and I think that's more of a male-centric story. It's easier for a guy to identify with it.
Sexist pig.
It is a little bit. Well, it's based in the 70s. It's based in the 70s, so yeah, there is sexism. There is all that sort of, they keep it downtoned, they're downplayed, but there is a few scenes where it's a case of shut up and get back in the kitchen.
But no, I mean, solid A from me.
Easy.
Gavin, what do you?
Yeah, same for me. I mean, it's like, as I've said, I really don't generally like these sort of true story films. They can get boring, even if I don't know the outcome and what happened. But the storytelling, the pace of this, the acting, it's easily an A. I would lean towards A plus, but it's one of those. The only thing I can think about it is that I'm not sure if I'd actually buy this on DVD for a return watch. And now, like I say, because it's not my kind of film, these sort of things, but I've seen it once. I think maybe that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get bored if I watch a film repeatedly. But I may pick it up, but other than that, definitely an A.
Depends what kind of special features it has,
Exactly, yeah.
Special features sell me movies.
Oh, I'd love to see how they'd make this. All the Formula One scenes with car crash and things like that, how much they actually replicated from real life race footage.
CGI
from what I understand, they actually used a lot of old race footage, mixed in a little bit of their own, and then CGI'd the rest.
Well, there's one moment where there's a crash, and you see the crash as it's happening in real time, and then they're showing a replay of it as though it's old footage. And I'm wondering, is that...
More than likely.
Yeah, I was wondering, is that the actual footage, and then they just recreate it when they did the real-time shot to make it look exactly like
anything
it?
you see. I think anything you see on a TV, unless it's obviously trying to be the actors.
Yeah, unless it's like Chris Hemsworth popping into the screen and waving. I'm like, I don't think he was around in 1970.
Yeah, anything that was like race footage and commentary was genuine.
So, I give this movie an F. I found the pacing terrible, the acting horrible, and because I need to be the evil one of everybody. No, I've never seen that.
You need to be in the cinema, not staring at the poster.
He's like, judging from the poster, I don't like the look of that short guy. Chris Hemsworth showing me a little too much chest and giving me a little too much gruff with that pout.
Yeah.
So, and I can't even pronounce Daniel Bruhl. So, yeah, F.
You just did.
Fuck this movie. An F for fuck this movie. So, how was Don John, Chris?
Don John is an excellent movie. I came into it kind of excited to begin with. It seemed like a very interesting premise. For those of you who don't know, it's a story or a movie that is written, directed, and starred by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's an all-in-one. He's like a Kevin Smith in this movie, basically.
Just younger, better looking, and probably more successful.
The amusing thing is there's a Silent Bob moment in this movie, actually, where like the one character who doesn't say anything in the entire movie finally speaks up, and they have the moment of clarity. But it is a story about this New Jersey character, John, who everyone calls Don John, based on the fact that he goes to the club and probably 2 to 3 times a week takes home borderline. The worst he'll take home is an 8. He has a streak ongoing that he brings 8s and above home, 2 to 3 times a week. However, the sort of thing he has to it is he doesn't like he has enjoyment in sex, he climaxes, but he doesn't seem to find as much of a satisfaction in it as he does with porn. He finds a much more of a satisfying orgasm in watching porn, and he's starting to get a little bit bothered by that. He wants to try something different, so he starts actively going after this character Barbara Sugarman, played by Scarlett Johansson, and saying, "Hey, I've only ever gone for flings. Let me try my hand at a real relationship and see how that goes." And the story then follows of Don John basically figuring out who he is and trying to find out the real sort of satisfaction he's looking for in life. He's a sexually or emotionally sexually frustrated person. Mm-hmm. And it's a really great story of this guy who kind of objectifies everything in his life, and he's slowly starting to learn what he's doing wrong. And it's a really great character piece. That I can't get into too much without getting into spoilers, but the acting in it's very good. There's a little bit in Scarlett Johansson you might find a little bit tough because she puts on that heavy Jersey accent.
Well, I don't like. Well, I can't say that. I can find the that accent a bit obnoxious.
I hate it. I hate it in real life. I hate it.
It's really hard for me to deal with that accent, so I'm like hesitant as fuck to this movie.
It is one of the things I was like, it's there is getting over that, but the rest of the movie is a really great open-minded movie that has a really good message to tell at the end of it. Again, I can't get into too much without getting into spoilers. It's shot in a very unique way too, because at the very beginning, if you've seen trailers for this, John basically goes over the things he cares about, namely his pad, his body, his car, his church, his family, his boys, his girls, and his porn. And that is literally almost every time you see a scene in the movie, it relates to one of those things. Mm-hmm. So we kind of go through a repetition. Like anytime you see John in the car, it's him on his way to then go into church, which will then cut to him doing a scene of confession, which then usually translate into a scene of him going to the gym afterwards. It follows a repetition, but that repetition is very important because it kind of gets across part of what the point of the film trying to get across, part of what the film is trying to get across. Mm-hmm. And it could be a little bit jarring, but again, I almost consider this, it's not indie, but it has an indie film kind of feel to it. Mm-hmm. And that it has a very unique way of being shot and everything like that. It's not, after seeing Rush a little bit later in the day, I was like, yeah, that's a movie that's shot by a director who kind of knows what he's doing 100%. With Don John, there are a couple scenes I was like, why did we cut so much in that single scene? Like, why did we not hang on a camera for some of those moments? But, otherwise, there's not really a whole lot to complain about in this movie. It has a very unexpected ending, I thought. It ended on probably the best note I've had a movie end yet this year for me.
Which we'll probably get into on spoilers also.
Yeah.
So, what do you give that movie, Chris?
I give it another A. I really liked it. I thought this was a solid movie across the board.
2 A's in a row. Holy shit. See, this is going to make next week fucking terrible when you have to watch Runner Runner.
Yeah, Runner Runner is going to be a big drop down. I'm going to just warn people now.
See, the only thing I'd heard about this is that meme that's going around about Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Basically, it's his first film he's ever written and directed. Plays a sex addict. Plays a sex addict. Makes Scarlett Johansson his girlfriend. So on that basis alone, I'll give him an A. I don't know about the film. I'll give him an A.
Smart man. He's a smart man.
It's a very edgy movie, and yeah, Scarlett Johansson's in it. But the fact that Scarlett Johansson is in it actually plays a big point to it by the end of the movie. That I don't want to get into without getting into spoilers. But
she's hot, so I don't care.
It's very important that he has someone like Scarlett Johansson in this movie.
Because she has big tits, right?
I'll get into it.
Okay. So, from this point on, we are going into spoilers for both of these movies. If you do not want to get spoiled, get the fuck out.
Abandon all hope, ye who continue on.
I'm like, okay, so I did not expect the crossover where Don John showed up to win the fucking F1 Formula Cup at the end. That was shocking.
Alright, guys. Spoil away.
I think we'll start with Rush.
Sure.
Yep.
This movie's... The only thing that sucks about spoilers at this moment now, because I want to see this movie.
That's why I said I'm going to pull back. I'm not going
to... No. Go ahead. It's
all right, here's the
when
one
it comes to
thing
spoilers for movies, I can tend to separate myself from usually, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it for this one. We'll see.
All right, here's the thing. The only thing I absolutely will not spoil is the final race result.
To be fair, I don't really think that matters too much to the story.
I think it's got a drama to it of who wins this race, because who wins it wins the cup ultimately. So I don't want to get into that.
I would say one of them they don't win. Neither of them wins. That's what I would expect going into this.
Well, that's impossible based on the fact that if one doesn't win, the other one automatically.
Yeah, basically going into it, I think Lauda was champion. Was leading the championship by 3 points. Mm-hmm. And it sets it up that Hunt has to at least finish third.
Yeah, Hunt has to get enough points to beat him.
Yeah.
And it ends up being
he's the only one that can. So it's basically Hunt or Lauda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing. The scene I was talking about earlier.
I love this guy.
Such a great character. He's such a Weasley little shit throughout the movie. And if you haven't seen the trailer yet, if you have though, you probably understand this happens because again, the trailer says so much of this fucking movie's plot that baffles me. There's an accident in one of the races where Lauda's car overheats. He pops his engine and his fucking car engulfs in flames, and they take like a minute to be able to get him out of the car, so he suffers a whole bunch of bad burns all over his body, and they're not really sure if he's going to make it. And there's just this moment where you're not really sure if he's going to be able to continue. They're in the hospital, his wife's there, she's panicking, and
he's wrapped up.
Yeah,
the priest giving him last rites on his on and all that sort of shit.
You can just see his eyes briefly open. He sees the priest over him, giving him blessings. And then you're just cutting to her in the waiting room. They're like, Lauda's up. He just said, tell the priest to piss off. I'm not dead yet. and you hear it. Like, even though he doesn't say it, you just hear it in Rules Lauda. It's so great. Where he's just like, piss off. I'm not dead yet, officer or priest.
What the fuck, Chris?
But no, I love Lauda. Rules Lauda is amazing. He has a great little acting thing too, where he kind of gives himself a little bit of an overbite.
I'm seeing that in that fucking picture too.
Yeah, like he pushes his teeth out a little bit because I guess that's sort of the thing. Is he was often, I guess, called a mouse or a rat.
Yeah, Hunt refers to him a few times as a rat.
Yeah, there's some things like their rivalry is really portrayed great, and obviously the race results are something that couldn't be really dramatized. I don't know how much of their relationship was put.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. There's a little bit too much hate of not enough respect until after the accident.
I kind of understand it based off that.
Yeah, it's well documented. They were rivals as racers, but they weren't avoiding each other because of the different lives. They roomed together once or twice. They travelled around together once or twice because it was the necessity of the racing circuit. They weren't as hateful towards each other as this makes out. If I'm told what I'm told is correct. But that being said, it never got malicious. It never got nasty between them.
It really is just a great rivalry where they have. I would watch 2.5 hours of just Lauda and Hunt shitting on each other because anytime they did, it was so glorious.
Yeah, there's little things. There's it's the press conference before the final race, and he starts making fun of his name. It's like if Nicky wants to get tricky with the race result, Dicky or something like that, and you just see Brule in the background just reacting to that sort of stuff. He's not on camera. He's just in the shot at the back, and he's like, yeah, whatever.
It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fucking Thor over there. But no, there's a scene after. I think it's when I think it's when he wins, when Lauda wins the cup in the 1975 season.
Yeah.
Is he's walking by and Hunt's having this big celebration party, and he's trying to go by and he's trying to congratulate him and I guess have like a moderate amount of respect, and Lauda just shits all over him and tells him to stop being a drunk party boy. Maybe he could do something with his life. And he's like, why don't you try having friends? Why don't you try having friends sometime? He's like, why don't you have a beer for me? Ah, of course I will. Perhaps I'll have two, as he goes off to get more beer. They have such a great relationship with one another. They play off each other so fantastically. And I think that's what really brings the greatest enjoyment in this movie, is these two just play off each other so well.
And oddly enough, if you look at it, because obviously they live different lives, although they do. It's a weird thing. They don't actually interact all that much in the film. There's maybe 2, 3, 4 key scenes where you'll see them together. The rest of the time is literally just following their two separate lives that are heading into the same direction, but are completely different. At the start, it shows them both how they get their starts. They both race Formula 3, which is a lower league. Hunt is owned or backed by a typical of the time daddy's boy, inherited his lordship title, living off dad's money sort of thing.
He's one of those assholes.
Throwing his money around like, what? So there's like fucking caviar. Like caviar and champagne in the pit. And all that sort of, yeah, exactly. He's there in his old...
He personally knows the Queen.
Yeah, he's basically he's Mr. Toad. Basically. And he's giving it all this, and Nicky's there as bare bones. His family's a big business family. They don't want him to go into racing, but he's like, fuck you, whatever.
He takes that alone, basically.
The rebel.
Does it himself.
The rebel.
Yeah. Hunt is the Mr. Talent. He's got all the talent in the world, but he can't focus himself. He's too much of a playboy. He's drinking champagne before he gets in the car.
He's a self-destructive person. Self-destructive person too. When he fails hard, and he takes it out on other people around him. He's a maladjusted person. He's not. I wouldn't even say he's lazy though, because we see moments where he's actually visualizing the race in front of him and driving it as though he's about to be on the course. He's a very studied person, very smart.
He's all the talent in the world. Is just no. He expects the world to come to him.
Yeah, and he's a very aggressive person too, which works against him.
Which apparently, according to this, the only reason that he actually made it to a Formula One career was because he met Niki Lauda, and Niki decided, I'm not fucking around in Formula 3. I'm going to take out a loan, sell everything I've got, and buy myself a place on Ferrari. Because it turns out he's also a mechanical genius and fixed every single car that Ferrari had, making him at least 2 seconds faster around the track.
Yeah.
Then basically blackmailed the pit crew. Oh no, it wasn't Ferrari. It was BCM Racing, I think it was. Oh, BRM. One of the old.
Yeah, he buys into one of the groups and then gets picked up by Ferrari instead.
Yeah, he buys into one of these teams that's about to go under and can't afford to say no, and then blackmails the owner into giving him an equal contract with their number one driver. Uh-huh. Or he walks and takes all his secrets with him and all this. He's a Weasley little fuck.
Yeah, but you don't. It's weird. You don't hate any. Like these two do like despicable things, but you never outright hate them as like monsters. You're just like, that guy's such an asshole. But they earn your respect back, definitely. Where you do find these characters human.
I'll find something to bitch about them. Trust me. When I watch this movie, because I'll nitpick it.
That's the deliberate of it, though. Lauda would literally sell his own grandmother for the advantage. He explains himself. Everyone's like, "Oh, wow, you're such an asshole, aren't you?" No, I'm just telling you the truth. You are a worse driver than me, therefore I am better. Yeah,
he has such a great way of talking. Like, you're such a shit, but you're like, God damn it, you're right.
There's the part where just before the German Grand Prix where he has his accident, and what is it comes out with? He's basically saying this weather is undrivable. It's too unsafe. And Hunt's like, well, it depends on how good you are in the rain. He goes, this is like the worst track in the season. He goes, well, we're pretty good around here. I am the fastest around here. I have the record. I'm under 7 minutes or whatever. He's like, I am faster than all of you.
It's my advantage to
Oh,
race.
yeah.
Yeah, he's great. It's so much fun to have Lauda around. I actually liked him a little bit better than Hunt, just because he's such a weaselly shit, but you just start to love him for it by the end of it. Every time he does something shitty, you're just like, yeah, that's Lauda.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he becomes a little bit of the hero of the story, because he's the one who actually kind of finds like something to actually live for that's not racing.
Yeah, when it comes to these kind of movies where you got both guys that kind of play like an asshole, everybody's always looking for that one person that's the one to cheer for.
You know what it kind of comes down to?
Because you never want to cheer for both assholes, you know?
If you want to be familiar with this, if you've ever seen this show, and if Chris has, you'll definitely know what I mean. He reminds me a lot of Rimmer from Red Dwarf.
I've never seen Red Dwarf.
The pair of them.
Nope, never seen it. I've heard of it, and I've...
Okay, well, I'll go from this. Basically, if anybody
Can you
out there
pick an
that has
American
seen it,
show?
No.
What is it if you were to use characters from Cheers?
I don't know. I didn't know it's Cheers.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying the same about Red Dwarf with you guys. Okay, Niki Lauda in this is basically Rimmer,
Okay.
but everything goes right for him. And Hunt is Ace Rimmer, that's a bit more of an asshole. It's okay. That kind of went nowhere because you guys don't know what the fuck I'm on.
Yeah, just like, he's a lot like Ace Rimmer.
You get educated, man. But yeah,
you need to get educated on American TV so you can make references that make sense to us.
Yeah, well, you're like the only two Americans I've met that haven't seen Red Dwarf.
I could have swore I've seen it as a kid,
Maybe,
but it's one of those things I
it
don't.
was the 80s.
I don't retain it. You know.
No.
Is it like a Doctor Who show?
No, it's British sci-fi comedy.
Sci-fi comedy?
Yeah, it's a sitcom in space.
Huh.
You need to watch it.
Okay.
I need to look at this. I gotta Google it.
The thing that they do that I really like, though, is there's enough moments where you realize how likable these characters are. Like, they're not absolute dickheads. There's a moment where Hunt does something where he's a complete shit, and you're like, fuck that guy. But then there's a moment he has. It's after Lauda gets injured, and he comes back, and he's doing his press conference, and you just see his burn marks, and you're like, God, that guy's been torn to shreds. And he's answering his questions, and one dickhead in the audience is just like, how do you think your marriage is going to be able to hold up after this? I mean, look at you. Do you really think your marriage can hold up after this? And it pisses Lauda off, and
That's where the quote from the That's where the quote from the trailer comes from. He's like, "What's your wife's reaction?" And he's like, "My wife told me the same thing I thought myself. I don't need my face to drive, just my right foot." And everyone's laughing at the rest of it. And he's like, no, but really.
He's like, really, your marriage is going to end.
And he's like, and he goes, I'm serious. You know, how's your marriage going to do? And Nat Lauda's like, and I am serious too. Fuck you. Interview over.
Yeah, and he heads off. And you see the reporter hanging downstairs, and Hunt's like, hey, I got something I want to show you. Can you come over here? I want to give you a quote. And he basically just takes this dude in the boiler room and just beats the shit out of him. And he puts his recorder in the guy's mouth, and he's like, see how your wife wants to fuck you after this, and just punches the recorder into the guy's mouth. And he just does it because he's like, this dude was such a fuck to Lauda. And that's the thing that really kind of helps set their rivalry into a really good direction. Because you're like, they hate each other. They're constantly using one another to drive themselves forward. They're almost obsessed with one another. But they respect each other so much, and they don't want to listen to someone treat someone else like that.
In a sense, they also need each other, right?
Yes. That's the thing.
They do actually say that.
Yeah.
They do at the end.
Because they wouldn't be what they are without each other being there.
After it's all been and gone, they basically say, who's it comes out with the quote, a wise man gets more from his enemies than his friends.
Yeah, that's Lauda. He's like, a wise man gets more from his enemies than a fool gets from his friends.
Yeah.
And there's a quote I love, and this is in the trailer too. Right before the final race, or actually no, it's right before the race where Lauda comes back after his injury, and Hunt comes up and he's like, I want to apologize, I was the one that was spurring us to race in Germany. He's like, yeah, you were, and I feel like that caused you to have your accident. Yeah, it was, so I feel responsible for your accident. You absolutely were, but you were just as responsible for giving me this accident as you were for getting me back on the course. And that's like a great quote from him too. He's like, "Look, I fucking hate this guy, but it was watching you win all those races that got me to fucking get back onto the course and race."
I did love that scene for that same reason, but also because of what you've just said there. He was like, I kind of swayed the room against you. Yes, you did.
You
Kind of
did.
feel a little responsible. Yes, you were. He's just the entire time. He's like, yep, yeah.
That's
Fuck
why I
you.
love. That's why I love Lauda so much. Just his bluntness is just
Yeah.
fantastic. I think actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he's leaving from. Oh God, what's his name? Regazzoni takes him over to
His
his
friend.
party,
Yeah.
and he doesn't get invited in because he's a dickhead to Regazzoni too. So
Yeah.
Regazzoni doesn't let him
On
into
the way
party.
out, they're just like,
Yeah, he just walks by and he doesn't actually let him into the party.
Yeah.
So he's like, shit. And this girl's leaving, so he gets a ride with her, and then their car breaks down. And they get picked up by two race fans who are like, oh, it's Niki Lauda, I love it. So they're like, we'll drive you back.
They're Asian?
They're Italian.
Italian.
Okay, that came off really Asian, Chris.
Oh, we love you, Niki Lauda. They'll let him drive back. They'll give him a ride back only if he drives their car. So Formula One race champion Niki Lauda's driving our cars is awesome, and he's driving along rather casually. And the girl's like, "You can't be a Formula One racer. You're driving so slow." He's like, "I have no need to drive fast right now. We're in no risk. There's nothing I gain by going there faster. Going fast only increases the risk. You're not a racer." And he just turns and he just fucking like shifts 6 times and just busts it on the gas. He's weaving between cars. She's like, ah! It's such a
There's this one moment where you can see the look of sheer terror on her face.
Yeah, the look of sheer terror, the look that goes from sheer terror to sheer, I'm gonna fuck the hell out of this guy afterward. And the two guys in the back, the two fanboys, just like, oh, this is awesome, Niki Lauda.
I did like the little scene just before that as well, where she's there singing along in the car and he's just listening to everything. Turns the song off mid chorus while she's singing along. She's like, "What are you doing? Your fan belt's loose." What? Yes, your car's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he goes off on all these things that are wrong with their cars.
Your rear brakes are worn, and so is the front tire.
It's why your car is swerving so much.
Yeah, he's like, my car's just had a service, a very expensive service. He goes, how do you know all this? 2 things: I can hear it all, and my ass. He's like,
God blessed me with a very good ass. It can feel everything in the car.
Yeah. 2 seconds later, car's broken down.
That entire scene's good because even after that, they're going outside. They're trying to hitchhike, and he hitchhikes, and a car goes right past. She's like, "We're in Italy, dear. I'll handle this, or we'll be here all night." And she goes out. Next car goes a little bit past her, and then stops and pulls over. And she's like, "There we go. I got that for us." And the 2 fanboys come out. They're like, "Niki Lauda."
Yeah, it wasn't her that they saw. They waited until they got past and saw Niki Lauda.
I love it so much. This is such a great film. For Lauda and Hunt's reaction to one another, it's just so good.
The one thing I will say is what I mentioned earlier about a couple of people have come up to me before they realised it was a true story and said, it's a bit unrealistic because obviously Lauda does have this accident, literally on the brink of death, and he's back in the car. What is it, 41 days after?
Yeah, it takes a while for him to get back.
Yeah, so basically, he's like less than just over a month, maybe a month and a half, and he's back on the track, ready to go again. So, all true story. I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, it's absolutely an incredible movie. It's got such great characters in it, and again, I cannot stress enough how much Brule and Hemsworth bring to this movie. I never thought of Hemsworth as a great actor. I've only ever known him from Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, he just knocks it so far out of the park that it's incredible.
Do you think they actually went up to him and said, "Okay, Chris,
we need you to actually act.
If you act in this scene and give us a really good scene, you'll get another one where you get to lay in bed with 3 naked girls."
Yeah, we get another scene with 6 naked chicks in it. That is the only sad thing.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So much boobs. None of them are Olivia Wilde's. That's
God damn it.
Disappointment. She doesn't get naked in this film at all. In fact, you barely ever see her. That's the thing. Like I can't stress enough. It's like she comes into the garage and sees him,
I mean, do we get leg, back maybe?
Not particularly.
Well, she's playing a model, but she's
Yeah.
always.
She's playing a model, and she's fully clothed the whole time.
No, you just don't see her that much. There's
God damn it!
There's like 6 scenes with Olivia Wilde. She meets him. The next scene is them getting married. Then you don't see her again for a really long time. Basically, the next time you see her is when she and Hunt have their fight, and then they divorce after that. And the only times you see her are like, her in fucking public watching the race and shit like that. Like,
Yeah, who
that's
does she leave him for now? It's Richard Curtis.
Yeah, something like that.
This movie now drops 2 scores on my scale.
You're like, now this is
I haven't seen it, but no, automatically drop 2 score on my scale. Dick teasing me with Olivia Wilde being in this movie. No, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Don John loses a couple points for not having Scarlett Johansson naked in it.
Yeah, you get as close to naked as you can get with her.
See, that's what these films do. They always advertise the big stars
You
and
see a lot
tease
of
that you
her
might see
ass.
more.
You see a lot of her ass, if that helps, in Don John.
That does actually help. So yeah, okay.
So yeah. So if you want, then I can talk a little bit about Don John as well. Unless you have anything else you wanted to bring up about Rush.
From myself, no. I mean, obviously the epilogue at the end of it does kind of sober the film. You kind of
It's
get
a little depressing.
Yeah. Turns out basically that obviously without going into spoilers, let's just say that.
Without going to spoilers, we are in the spoiler section of this.
Yeah,
thing.
no, but basically, well, okay. It turns out that basically Hunt decides that enough's enough for him. He only has a few seasons in Formula One, then retires to the playboy lifestyle that he's earned himself, and is dead by 45 of a heart attack, or was it 35?
45. He makes
45,
but it's clear he doesn't last very long. So
yeah. Well, I think Lauda's still actually going today, so
yeah.
Yeah, but this is
We saw who won that race.
Well, no. This is very much told from Lauda's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, still definitely go see this film.
Yep.
Can't
say that enough.
All right, Chris, Don John.
So Don John, at the start, and again, this is huge spoilers at this point. So if you want to see Don John, don't listen to the rest of this. If you want to go in as clean as possible. But Don John is essentially a romance story of today. And at first you think the romance story is between him and Scarlett Johansson's character. But as you'll quickly realize, Scarlett Johansson plays an uber bitch in this movie. She is a complete controlling chick. At first you don't think there's anything too wrong with her. You think she's actually kind of a sweet chick who's got a little bit more of a brain than you might lead on to. And she seems, like she's trying to encourage this guy. One of the first things she does is she won't let him fuck him or fuck her yet. She's like kind of holding off, so they're like making out in front of the door, and he's really grinding up against her, and he's just like, "Oh, maybe you could do it after I meet your parents." He's like, "Oh, my parents, come on, I don't want to meet your parents." He's like, "Oh, come on, I want to meet your parents." I'm like, all right, and you can see he's really getting into it at this point. He's kind of grinding up against her. He's like, all right, oh, and I want to meet your friends too. Yeah, okay. And I want you to go to night school. Okay. All right, now come, baby. And he just comes in his pants, basically, from grinding up against her. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to go inside now. And she's like, I got what I wanted. You came, and now you have to go to night classes, and I get to meet your friends and your family. So, it's kind of to the point where you're like, all right, maybe this girl's going to try to kind of improve his life a little bit. But she doesn't. She's quickly becoming a controlling person. She's very particular about everything she wants him to do. And we kind of realize that she doesn't really want him so much as she wants an objectified guy who's going to kind of act in every way she wants him to. Like, the two of them, they're dating for a while, but anytime you ever see them in a scene, they're not really interacting very much. Like, most of the time when she's talking, he's just kind of giving like, yeah, yeah, sort of thing. He doesn't really give too much of a fuck about the conversation they're in.
So like what I do to you all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Or that I do to you some of the time too.
Yeah.
And there, yeah, exactly. And there's particular moments where she just pinpoints things that he does that are very strange, that bother her. She doesn't like the fact that he cleans his own place. She's like, that's something a maid should do. You're not the one who's supposed to be doing that. A grown man should not be cleaning up his own place. She finds that weird.
I subscribe to that opinion.
And there's another point, because he's a Catholic, and he's constantly going to confession
Oh,
afterwards.
God, those people.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Catholics? I haven't said anything about it. And anytime he gets told he has to do Hail Marys and stuff like that, he does them basically while he's lifting. So instead of being like, lift 1, lift 2, lift 3, every time he lifts, he then says part of a Hail Mary. So it's like, Hail Mary, full of grace. Like he, uses that as his counting methods, basically, his way of doing penance. And she hears him doing that, and she's like, are you talking to yourself? That's really weird. Don't do that. Like, that's the thing she picks out as being like, that's strange, and stop doing that. It's really creepy. It's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Mm.
And you kind of realize what a controlling kind of person she is. And we start to realize Don John's a very, not unstable, but he's got a lot of aggression issues. Anytime you see him in the car, it's him screaming at other people like, it's a yellow light, go! I got a retard in front of me, a fucking retard! You are a retarded person! And there's a point where like he's yelling at somebody, like yells at him back, and he gets out of the car, runs up, and is about to fight the guy. Guy starts to drive off, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt just fucking punches the dude's window. And he's just like, fuck me! And the next scene's him walking into church with the bloody hand. And that's kind of a big
What
part
about
of
when
this.
he was singing in the car?
That's
in
at the
trailer?
end. That's after he's sort of made a big change.
Aww.
Because there's a second character to this that we meet early on, played by Julianne Moore. She plays Esther. And Esther, yeah. And she, at first, is just this really weird girl that he meets at night classes. We don't know much about her. The first time we see her, she's just crying, and we don't know why, and he kind of just walks past her. It's like that awkward moment where he has to get back into class, but she's crying in the doorway. And he just kind of walks past, and she's like, I'm sorry. He's like, don't worry about it. And after that, other stuff happens in the movie where he can't watch porn anymore because she's caught him once doing it, and she's like, that's the fucking weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't want you doing that anymore.
Watching porn is weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
According to her. Well, the frequency at which he does it is actually something
a little bit
come
weird.
to realize is very weird. He is addicted to his porn. But he's like, all right, I got to get my rocks off other ways. So he's watching it on his phone. So he's watching in class, and she sees him watching it. And it's kind of funny. She's just like, I want to apologize to you. I was crying at the door. It's extremely weird. He's like, he's kind of like, it's fine. It's whatever. Don't worry about it. Get away from me. And then she's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Were you watching two people fucking on your phone? He's like, lady, what the fuck? And you start to see more about who this girl is, and she's he does remember every single time he does it too. Because he mentions that every time he goes to confession. I had sex 3 times out of wedlock this week, and I watched and masturbated to pornographic material 86 times. Well, not 86. I don't think it ever gets that high. I think the highest is like 36 times. And he constantly, is dealing with the penance from that. But he meets this girl, and
so his
really,
whole life is basically beating off, confessing to it, then saying Hail Marys to get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he lives not a directionless life, but he's plateaued in his life. He works as a bartender at night, and he mostly spends the rest of his week kind of working out, cleaning his place, hanging out with his friends. And
the things he goes through, in the trailer where he names off everything he does.
Yeah, and, fucking chicks after work. So, he's kind of plateaued a little bit, and that's kind of something he has to get over. That's a part of the movie. But anyway, what Julianne Moore represents in this movie is she actually becomes the real love interest in this film.
Shocking.
Well, it actually is a little bit shocking to me, because I kind of felt like that was going to happen a little bit. Mm-hmm. But the very particular thing about this, and this is what I meant when I said Scarlett Johansson, the fact that it's Scarlett Johansson is very important. He initially is dating Scarlett Johansson, a girl who I think could arguably be considered one of the hottest women in cinema today. And I think she's
definitely top 10, yeah.
And arguably, I think you'd have to at least give her top 20. She's definitely got to be in that range of American cinema of actresses. He goes from someone who looks like her to Julianne Moore, who's not an ugly woman by any stretch, that's not what I'm saying. But she is a woman who I think, in the film, she looks like she's at least in her mid-40s. And Don John looks like a guy who's in his late 20s. What comes to happen is these two have a very unconventional relationship. It's very unorthodox. He doesn't, they don't even, this movie is criticizing romance movies. You know, it's actually where they get the cameos from Anne Hathaway and Cuba Gooding Jr. in, is where they see these movies and it's like the girl meets the guy, they kiss, they have the first date, the breakup, and then they get back together and live happily ever after. And they make it look extremely cheesy and goofy looking. That's kind of what the movie's getting across. That is a cheesy, goofy way of looking at romance, and that's what some of these girls do, and these guys do too. They're kind of almost accepting that. What this movie's trying to get across is what having a real emotional connection to somebody else does for a person. He's missing an emotional gratification through sex. He gets a physical one, but he's missing that emotional one, and he loses himself in porn. But what he doesn't get, he doesn't lose himself in anyone else. So when he's having sex with a woman, he doesn't get that same gratification because it's almost always missionary. You know, he doesn't seem to get any emotional connection with anybody. It's just an objectification of somebody else. It's just, this is a woman. I don't get to do any things I want with it. Whatever, I'll come and then I'll just watch porn afterwards and get a better orgasm out of it. You know, Julianne Moore's character actually challenges him. She actually starts to open his eyes, and because of it, he becomes a much better person. He does a lot of smaller things that really, I think, kind of hammered home what it was that this relationship is doing for him. There's an establishing shot they use every time he goes to the gym. That's him walking down this hallway. And then generally after he gets past the hallway, it then cuts to him lifting weights or something like that. And every time in the background, you can see like a few girls walking by and there's a basketball game being played. And the last time they show that scene is it's him walking down the hallway about to go into the gym. And then right before he'd go off scene, they'd cut. He then stops and looks back to the basketball game. And then he just decides to walk in and just start playing pickup basketball. And it's just one of those things that kind of show that he's breaking out of his pattern. He's starting to try new things. And the end of the movie, he and Julianne Moore are getting together, but he notes very particularly they're not, you know, it's not like the same love that he had with Scarlett Johansson. You know, he notes he's like, I love this girl. Maybe not love. Like, I'm not thinking about marrying her yet. You know, she's not even ready for it. And you know, it shows him saying on the steps, and Julianne Moore's character is having this kind of emotional breakdown. And he's comforting her based on the fact that Esther recently lost her husband and her son to a car accident. So she's, you know, kind of getting over that stuff. And, you know, she's managing to find a connection with him and he's finding a connection with her. And it goes to show what an emotional connection does for a relationship and how much better of a person it makes you when you find somebody who you emotionally care for, as opposed to just this physical thing that you kind of subscribe yourself to the traditions of a relationship where you're just like, oh yeah, this is what you do. And thus, because it's what you do, that's what I need. And it's got a really great message to it. A lot of little touches I probably even forgetting, or I'm kind of just leaving out because, to give you something to still look for in the movie. But it's got a great message to it. And I absolutely love this movie. I thought it had a great story to it. The ending, absolutely fantastic. It doesn't need to go a second longer than it does. It ends at exactly the right point. And I loved it. I thought it was a great film.
So I'm going to have a busy week this week, aren't I?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to see 3 movies this week now.
Just
and then top it off with Runner.
Yeah.
Yes!
Maybe we should watch Runner first and catch Don John or Rush afterwards. Even on a high. I mean, maybe we're being.
We'll get back to next week, and we'll be like, so let's talk about Runner. I'm like, no, I want to continue talking about Rush and
I
Don
didn't
John.
get to talk about Rush last week. Lana was great. I'm like, hey, we're gonna talk about Runner. You're like,
If I actually enjoy these movies as much as you guys did, I might actually throw my 2 cents into that at the very end of that review. But I doubt I will.
It sounded like these two could possibly, at least at the start of the winter season, so to speak, these two do sound like they could be, easily movies of the year contenders.
They are for me right now. I mean, there wasn't much competition going into this. We started watching movies with Man of Steel, and since then, the closest thing I came to a movie of the year since then was Kick-Ass 2, which I probably liked more than I should have. So,
See, for me, it'd be World's End, but again,
yeah,
that's because I like the series, the 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can look at either movie and be like, this is an amazing film, other than the fact that
this will probably replace, if these are as good as you say, they'll probably replace my number 1, which is still sitting at World War Z.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that.
It's a really good movie, man. You gotta watch that movie. I have it sitting on my shelf. I was actually gonna watch that after we're done doing Co-op or Die tonight. Watch it
Yeah,
the
Nick's
second
got
time.
some good thoughts on this in the chat room as well.
What's that?
Nick's in the chat room talking about Don John as well.
Yep.
He's got some good points in there too.
So, both A's from Chris for Rush and Don John, and then Gavin also gave A for Rush. Also, what trailers did you guys get?
I got Out of the Furnace again, which again looks really good with Christian Bale, Casey Affleck, and Woody Harrelson. I know every time I say that cast list, Randy, you get a little angry.
I know I don't like Woody Harrelson,
But it looks really good. It looks like it's going to be a good movie. Also got another Christian Bale movie, which the name of it I can't remember, but it's with him and Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams, and Jeremy Renner. The American Hustle, I think it is.
Oh, I haven't seen anything on that.
I've seen a couple for that. It doesn't look bad. It looks a bit interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird because Bradley Cooper, it looks like they're almost putting him like in Bollywood makeup. Like he looks like he's Indian. Like I think he just has a really strong tan.
Speaking of Bollywood, by the way, go ahead, finish your
No,
talk.
it just looks every time I see it, I'm just like, what is he like Indian in this movie, or did they just give him too much of a tan?
I was looking for a banner for this movie, and I found that there's a Bollywood movie by the same name, and I was tempted as fuck to use that for the banner for this thing. Because Chris said no.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. If there are any guys in the chat who are looking for a date movie, I would say Don John is a good date movie with one condition. The person, if you're dating a girl, you need to make sure she is open-minded, because the first 20 minutes of that movie is tits, ass, and blowjobs. And if you don't have an open-minded girl, I imagine she's gonna go in and be like, "You just took us to see a goddamn fucking porno, didn't you?" Joseph Gordon-Levitt doesn't get naked in this at all, but I've seen 6 pairs of fucking titties since I started this movie.
If you are going to take a chick to a movie, never ever have it be the first date, though. That's the big common misconception. Never ever take a chick to movies on a first date.
Ooh, are we gonna get a new impromptu Randy relationship show?
No, but I'm just saying. Trust me on it. Don't do it.
I'm sure there was something good that came up in on my trailers. I can't remember what it was now. I know I got Runner again. I got Prisoners again because that wasn't out over here yet. We got R.I.P.D. because that's only just come out. I'm actually going to go see that next week. There was something that came out that I thought I'm going to go watch the shit out of that, but I actually can't remember what it was.
Gavin, if you like R.I.P.D., I am sorry, but our partnership as far as the show goes needs to end.
Oh, Randy.
Fuck that movie.
I was gonna say, what else did we get? I got The Counselor again, but that's like coming out later next month, so I'm not surprised about that. Prison Escape or Escape Plan, I've been getting a lot of, and the more times I see it, the more I'm like, this is gonna be an awful movie.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, it is.
Every time I see a new trailer, I'm just like, I want to see it, but I know it's gonna be terrible.
You know what I watched a couple days ago? What's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? The End of the Line or whatever it's called, where it's the an escaped convict is trying to hit the Mexican border and he has to go through this small town, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is the sheriff of that town.
Yeah.
It also has the guy from Jackass in it.
Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah.
I think I have heard of this, but that is really weird.
It's an older one, yeah. It was Schwarzenegger's last film, I think it was. What's it called? I think it is something like End of the Line or something like that, End of the Road.
Oh, the other movie I keep getting trailers for is, oh god, what's the name of it? It keeps pissing me off because it's that fucking working title company. So I keep always thinking the movie.
Oh, is it that time traveling movie?
Yeah, About Time.
Okay.
That's what it is. With
About Time.
Actually, I don't think anyone I know is in it. Bill Nighy's in it.
Yeah.
With some guy who could travel back in time if he goes into a dark place and closes his eyes and uses it to, find love.
It's his imagination.
Every time I see it, I'm just like,
Hey, crew.
Luckily, it's the same week as Freebird, so I won't be able to see it.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, I know.
We gotta go see a good movie. Yeah,
Yeah, we have to go see Freebirds. Can't miss out.
Actually, no, I get to miss out on that one.
Yeah, you get to miss out on it completely.
Yep.
Oh, Delivery Man! I saw a trailer for as well with Vince Vaughn, where he donated sperm, and now he's like the father of 500 children.
Yay.
Because of
Vince
the mix-app.
Vaughn.
It's it's gonna be a feel good movie. It doesn't look bad.
It's another Vince Vaughn movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different movie for him. He's playing a serious role. It doesn't seem like it's much. I mean, it's gonna have a little bit of comedy, but it's a feel good movie ultimately.
Ah, well.
Yeah, out of the furnace, we got American Hustle. I've been getting a lot of. I haven't seen anything for Anchorman anymore, or Monuments Men. I saw one trailer for that, and then they stopped.
I haven't seen anything
Mr.
for
Banks.
I haven't seen anything for Anchorman.
Oh yeah,
Besides
it's
the one
not till,
trailer I
it's not
watched
till
online.
it's not till December though, is it?
Oh God. Okay, now I remember the other movie, Her, with fucking Joaquin Phoenix and Amy Adams, Scarlett Johansson, and Rooney Mara. Where Joaquin Phoenix plays this like guy who's got a new operating system that has like a sexy woman voice to it, and he falls in love with her.
Oh,
And like, it just looks so weird. It's like him laying in his bed, and he's just like, "I want to touch you," and then like the robot voice comes in like, "How would you touch me?" And I'm just like, God, this. And they're trying to paint off like a serious like heartwarming romance movie. I'm just like, this looks awful.
Last Stand.
The Last Stand. That's it.
That movie's fucking terrible.
That's the Schwarzenegger one, isn't it?
Yeah, that movie is fucking terrible. I gave you permission. What the
You
fuck?
misspelled his name.
Oh, damn it.
You put a Y instead of a U. And you got him timed out.
No, he got a warning. He's fine.
It is true, Ron. It used to be a joke on TA that I never saw movies, and now I do a movie show or a movie review show.
Chris, the movies that Chris hasn't seen is legendary.
Yeah,
Have you-
it's still that's still not changed.
Have you seen Back to the Future yet?
No.
Ghostbusters.
I will probably. I've seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2. That was never a
Okay.
thing.
Was
I've
it?
seen Ghostbusters. I still haven't seen Indiana Jones movies yet, or the Goonies, or RoboCop.
Star Wars?
I've seen the Star Wars movies. I've seen all
Chris,
those.
you have to go see RoboCop before we get around to the new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I'll probably see the first RoboCop before I see the new RoboCop.
Also, if considering Catching Fires on next month, you need to go see the first one. That
Yeah, I need to see
Yeah.
that as well.
That movie gets a lot of hate, but I love that movie.
yeah, I do.
Everybody's like, "Oh, the shaky
books.
cam is annoying." I'm like, "Nah, the shaky cam makes sense for that movie." You know?
The other. I keep getting. I finally got the first trailer
Why make him watch the Goonies?
for Need for Speed.
Oh,
Aaron
dear,
Paul.
yeah.
And I
Fuck
saw it, and I'm
that.
just like, "Oh, this is
We're gonna
almost
see
sad
it.
to see."
We're gonna
'Cause
see it.
I'm just like, Breaking Bad finished, and this is the moment I think Aaron Paul is gonna realize he's like, "I have nowhere else to go."
I think I read a quote actually the other day that apparently his character was supposed to die in the first season of Breaking Bad, but
Yeah.
He's supposed to die in like the second episode, but
he did such a good job they kept him on, and obviously, and he's thinking, I'm so glad for that because I know I wouldn't have a career right now if they.
I don't know if he's gonna have much of a career afterwards. I think Bryan Cranston still will, but I saw him in fucking
Dude.
Need for Speed, and he definitely is phoning it in there.
Dude, Cranston's fucking front runner for Lex Luthor, man. He's going on from this.
Yeah, so he'll definitely have it there. Sabotage. No, I thought it was Olivia. Wilde was in. It was Olivia Williams.
Yeah, Chris, for next week, forget runner. Me and Randy will handle that. You need to deliver a report on Goonies.
I am much preferable to that situation than Paint Runner.
Gavin,
I'll watch
we can't
Goonies
do that
twice.
because we need him at this movie. We need him to suffer as we all
We'll
do.
wait till there's a good film.
Yeah, like when Thor comes out, we're like, "No, you're watching Goonies."
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just paid to see Thor otherwise. I'll clear it. No, I've not seen the Aliens movies.
What?
All you do is watch 1 and 2. You don't really watch it.
Yeah. Don't bother with 3 hours.
I haven't seen any of them, so I haven't seen the Predator movies either.
Predator movies are better than the Alien movies.
Yeah, Christ.
Fucking love it.
Mate, you miss most of Arnie's best stuff if you don't watch Predator.
I know. I've missed a lot of.
Have
this.
you ever watched like these movies get shit? But I love them. Con Air or The Rock.
Oh, dude, my two favorite Michael Bay movies.
I love
It's not
those two
saying
movies.
much, but those two are fantastic films.
they are.
Con Air or what?
The Rock.
No, I never seen that.
Both Michael Bay. Oh no, Con Air isn't Michael Bay, is it? The
No,
Rock
that's
is. The Nicolas
Con Air
Cage.
is the guy. Con Air is the guy who did all the destruction movies.
Yeah.
Emmerich.
Emmerich.
Roland
Yes.
Emmerich does it.
I get it mixed up because I know they're both Nicolas Cage films, which also makes them awesome.
Yep. I also like. You need to see Face Off. You need
Yes.
to see The Jackal.
I haven't seen that.
Yes.
Fucking like 90s movies.
Who-
God damn all the 90s.
Hell, you've seen Die Hard.
Who's? No, I've not seen the Die Hard movies.
Oh my god.
Who's done the? What was the Tom Cruise movie where he like plays gay volleyball?
Oh,
Air Force One?
No. Air Force One is
Top Gun,
You're
mean.
thinking of Top Gun.
Top Gun. Haven't seen that one either.
You need like an 80s and 90s education, dude.
Yeah, basically that's what it comes down to. I'm seeing the shit out of movies now, but it's still not going to change.
Yeah,
the
you're
fact
not. You're
that
missing all the good ones though. You missed all the good ones.
Well, I saw Rush. That's good.
Hang on. How? I'm guessing you don't own a television because how can you possibly watch TV and not see Die Hard? It's on every Christmas.
Yeah, every fucking Christmas it's on there. That or every holiday you can turn on like AMC or something like that and get a Bond marathon that they have every
I will
fucking
guarantee
holiday.
you in the next few weeks, Ghostbusters will be on. Every Halloween, man.
I love Ghostbusters.
That
I
and
love Bill Murray.
what's that witch movie? Hocus
Craft?
Pocus.
Oh, Hocus! Oh, God, Hocus Pocus. Oh, when Sarah Jessica Parker was actually hot, and
Oh
then
yeah,
she just
fucking
evolved
she was
into
hot.
a horse.
She was so hot in that movie. After that, nothing.
Hold on, can't be that good.
She was
No.
hot as fuck. In that
Sarah
movie.
Jessica Parker was like smoking hot.
Guess Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't want her song. I just want pictures of her to decide if I want to jerk off to this. Oh, really? I'm gonna assume that maybe you guys were young when you saw this, and that colored your perception a bit.
We possibly were pubescent teenagers at the time, but
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna show you a picture, and you tell me if this today, if you're still like, that's so hot. I mean, it doesn't help. The
yeah,
person
that's a
that's
bad
next to
example.
her.
That's not the best fucking. You piece of shit.
I'm just saying. I'll just drop that in the chat. So you know.
yeah, that was
Oh,
a.
why can't I fucking time you out? Somebody time him out. No. I'm kidding.
I love the chick next to her. Makes it so much better.
The chick next to her, you mean Barbara Streisand?
Is that
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Is that Barbara? Oh wow. I mean,
Yeah, in fairness, she does have. Yeah,
She just have cleavage on the car. See, even Nick agrees with us.
I think. I don't know.
that does affect your mind a little bit.
I think if you paid me, I couldn't name a Barbara Streisand song.
Wind Beneath My Wings?
What?
Is that her? Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna go
Well,
with.
She's recorded it at least, anyway.
I was gonna go with fucking the Bodyguard song, but I was like, that's Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
The one from Titanic. That's her.
yeah.
Oh, it says it's Bette Midler.
Oh,
Thank you, Nick.
Bette
I
Midler,
was,
sorry.
I was gonna
always get
say
them
that,
too-
but I
What?
didn't want to feel like an
Yeah,
idiot.
they're both older ladies that sing and that, you know.
I'm glad you said that, Nick, because I was like, I thought it was Bette Midler.
Yeah, Barbara
That
Streisand's the one with the nose, isn't it? I couldn't. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I was like, I don't want to look like a supreme idiot.
Streisand's the nose. That's Bette Midler. Sorry, yeah. I always get them two mixed up.
All right. From here on out, we're gonna head over and start up Co-op or Die. I think we've gone long enough on fucking movies.
Yeah, so now
we'll
we
probably
degenerate-
continue movies that Chris needs to see into
Degenerating
Co-op or
into
Die.
Chris's general knowledge on movies now.
Don't hate.
It's basically gonna turn into. This is sad. This is really, really sad.
Chris leaves this podcast with like a list of 500 movies he has to see by next week.
Yeah, it's only like the 18th time someone's done this. Oh, here's a list
Yeah.
of movies you need to see. You'll see them all next week, Joe.
I'm pretty sure I've done it. I'm pretty sure I've been involved in about 12.
Yeah, I
of
was
them.
like, I'm sure you've been involved. I'm sure you've been horrified at the list of movies I haven't seen before. It's not something new.
Yeah,
Go see Rush and Don John.
definitely.
Yes, go see it. I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna agree with these guys. We'll be right back.
Dude.
Outstanding.
Who knew Thor could act?
He is great in this movie. He and Brule really just absolutely captured, because this movie kind of comes down to one thing. It comes down to the fact that James Hunt and Niki Lauda are two very different people, but are rivals with one another, and it's sort of that very um, it's sort of that perfect kind of rivalry where these are two people who they despise each other, but at the same time they respect each other so much they're constantly pushing each other.
I remember thinking halfway through towards it, well, just after the event, shall I say, and it made me realize that these two guys, it's kind of a weird scenario with them. They're so completely different yet so exactly the same at the same time.
Yeah.
It was. I was thinking about it. It's just like, wow, that's weird.
I have a question though.
Yes.
On this banner that I'm looking at, which is actually a UK banner, let me just get that out of the way, because it says in cinemas September 13th.
Yes.
No. Is this movie tense and thrilling?
Yes.
Yes.
100% it is. There is a lot of... All right, here's the thing. This is based on a true story. If you don't know the true story of this Formula One season and anything like that, for the love of God, do not read what happens.
No.
Because you will remove everything from it. Because if you go into this not knowing what's going to happen, and you understand it's based on real events, but you go into it kind of just expecting the story of a good kind of rivalry, sports, suspense movie, it's fantastic. It's got a lot of really good turns to put you on. There's a lot of growth in these characters. You learn to love them, you learn to hate them, you come to love them again, and you kind of come to get somewhere in the middle where you're like, these guys are both kind of shitheads.
They do spend a good chunk of the film in who's the bigger asshole contest.
It absolutely is. And ultimately, I think Chris Hemsworth's character, James Hunt, comes across as the much bigger asshole.
Bit. Yeah, a bit.
But we'll save that for spoilers.
But that was reflected in real life as well. That is as they do in the closing epilogue.
Yes, but it really does have a lot of great tension to it.
Yeah, I mean, from obviously because I'm European
too, with some makeup effects they do towards the end for these characters. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I could really point at this movie and be like, this was,
this was bad. This needed to go.
I think the worst thing I'd say about it is that it's long, and you'll feel that it's long, I think. But I don't think that's necessarily negative, because there's nothing I'd really take out of the movie. I think maybe its weakest point is at the end, after most of it's kind of died down, the action. But it's still...
I kind of disagree with that. I honestly didn't think it felt long at all. I mean, it is a 2-hour film.
A 2.5 hour.
2.5 hours. Jesus, no, it never felt anywhere near that long.
Okay. I'd also been at the movie for an hour and a half beforehand. So
fair enough. For me, it felt like about an hour. It really did fly by.
Yeah, I mean, it can. But yeah, no, again, there's nothing to this movie where it feels long and you're just like... It's not like Prisoners, which we talked about the other week. Where I was just like, this is an obscenely long...
goody! Now he gets captured to another fucking half hour.
Everything that's in this movie feels like it absolutely should be there.
Fuck that movie.
Before we get into spoilers, then, as just a rating to give this movie, I give this a solid A.
Easy.
This is absolutely it's close to almost an A+, but I'm going to give it an A. I think this is absolutely a film you should see. If this isn't, this should be a contender for film of the year. With the Oscars, I don't know what the fuck is coming out that'll probably get it instead. But this is a great
Avatar
movie.
2.
I hope not. This is a great movie. I think almost anybody should be able to enjoy this. If you like good, cinema, this is a fantastic story.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a guy helps a little bit, just because the rivalry is so intrinsic, and I think that's more of a male-centric story. It's easier for a guy, to identify with it.
Pig.
It is a little bit. Well, it's based in the 70s. It's based in the 70s, so yeah, there is sexism, there is all that sort of, they keep it downtoned, they're downplayed, but there is a few scenes where it's a case of shut up and get back in the kitchen.
But no, I mean, solid A from me.
Easy.
Right. Gavin, what do you give
it? Same for me. I mean, it's like...
All right, guys. you guys all went and saw Rush this week. I didn't end up being able to go make it. Let's see here. Chris, you also saw another movie, which we'll get into after our review of this movie and before spoilers of this movie. If that makes sense. All right. So what do you guys think of Rush? I mean, it looks interesting.
Instant, basically top 5 movie of the year for me, at the very least.
Shit. It is incredible. Yeah, go ahead.
I went into this, because I was just doing this show. It's like you said, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, it's been out here for about a month already, and I was looking at it going, this is not my kind of film. Enjoyed the fuck out of it. Easily about one of the best films I've seen all year, easily. And I'm really not into the. This one thing I do want to point out. This is all a true story.
Yeah.
Some people don't get that for some reason. I've had people come up to me and say it's a bit unrealistic in places, but I'm like, dude, this all happened.
Yeah.
And we'll go into that in the spoilers. But for a based on real events sort of film and all this sort of stuff, I can't say enough good words about it. It
is an absolutely great movie. For those of you who don't know what it's about Formula One racing in the UK, or I guess in Europe.
It's Europe, yeah. Well, it's worldwide.
Yeah,
but the two protagonists are Europe.
It seems to have some base in Europe. But 1970s Formula One racing, and about a particular rivalry that happened between James Hunt, played by Chris Hemsworth, and Niki Lauda, played by Daniel, and I'm going to screw up his name because there's an umlaut over it, so I don't know how to fucking pronounce it, but Brühl.
Brühl, yeah.
During the 1976 Formula One World Championship Cup. And it is a fantastic movie. I thought this would be a little bit boring because, first and foremost, the trailer, every time I saw it, kind of felt like it gave away the whole movie. Because it really kind of lays everything out up until the final race. Yeah. And I was just like, well, that was a bit strange. But when you get into this movie, first and foremost, Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Brühl act the fuck out of this movie. They are utterly...
Well, English. I live close to Europe. Obviously, I'm much more familiar with the Formula One history and the rest of it. I knew of Niki Lauda. Honestly, I had never actually heard this story because although I watch it every weekend, I'm not a huge fan. I don't go into the history of it. But yeah, I mean, because I didn't know much about this, nothing was spoiled. Other than the fact that I know who's alive and who's dead. If you know what I mean. But that's do not look up this film. Do not research this film, even now you know it's a true story. Go watch it.
Yeah, you'll really take a lot out of the movie if you know what happens at the end.
So that means don't listen to the spoilers at the end of this.
Yes, I really cannot. I'm going to try not to really get in too specific when we get into the spoilers. So even if people do want to hear a little bit more about the movie and don't want the the direct being spoiled,
we're gonna spoil the shit out of it. We have to.
We
always do.
But all right.
But when it comes, it's their choice. If they don't want to know, they don't have to listen.
Fair enough. So I am still gonna try to pull away a little bit, but I just keep.
Gavin, make sure he doesn't.
Okay.
But
everything he skips, you tell.
Yeah, this is absolutely 100% a movie I highly recommend. I saw Don John earlier, and Don John, not to get into that right now, but I love Don John. I was like, that is my movie of the year right now. And then I was going into Rush like, I already saw my movie of the year right now. I hope hopefully Rush isn't too much of a disappointment. I left Rush like, that actually may have been even a better movie. So this is... I did not go into this expecting a lot, and I came out of it being like, wow, that was a lot of fun. It's a long movie. It's a 2.5 hour long movie, but honestly, it feels long, but I can't think of anything I'd cut. Ron Howard actually does an incredible job of pacing this movie, of keeping scenes just as long as they need to be without making them feel really curt, short, or unnecessary. Mm-hmm. He does a really good job of shooting this movie. It looks absolutely brilliant. I guess that's, almost goes without saying of Ron Howard at this point, but
yeah.
It truly is built an absolutely great movie, and the acting in it is just incredible. Uh,
Yeah, don't let the fact that this is a Formula One movie put you off. If you don't know anything or have any interest in Formula One, you do not need to know anything about the sport, anything to do with anything really. Just go and enjoy this as the movie it is because it's
Because
fantastic.
it's a story about two people. It's not a story about Formula
Yeah,
One.
this is very much it's a story
well,
in the world of Formula One, but not about the world of Formula One.
the only key factor that Formula One brings into it is that it's a ridiculously dangerous sport that is unnecessarily dangerous.
Yeah, in the
And-
'70s there were almost no safety rules at all.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy some of the stuff that's, but no, Lauda and Hunt are great characters on their own. There are some moments with Lauda that are just absolutely brilliant. He has such a way of talking that's just so hilarious. You'll actually get some pretty good laughs out of this movie too, because he's such a little shit sometimes. It's so great. Just that one scene in the hospital. I won't get into the details of it. I guess I can't get into the details of it until we get into spoilers. But everyone in the theater just started laughing because it was just like, "Yep, that's Lauda from everything we've seen."
This is the one. Yeah, I was thinking that one myself.
Yeah. I should note there are other people in this. Olivia Wilde is billed as being in this movie.
She is.
Kinda.
Olivia Wilde
in
is
this
so
movie for,
hot.
like, 3 scenes.
Is she the
Aw.
nurse?
No, she's the one Hunt marries. Susie Miller.
Oh, the model. Yeah, she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's not. She's in the movie, but she's not really.
Is she skimpy?
No, not.
Ah, damn.
You don't get. All right, here's the thing. This is the closest we've gotten to at this point. If there are any ladies listening, to seeing Chris Hemsworth naked, you don't get dick, but you get everything else of Chris Hemsworth in this movie. Or guys,
There is one scene when the dude basically belly flops onto his bed. I saw something.
yeah.
Be careful.
For guys, a lot of titties in this movie.
Lot of nudity in this one.
I came from Don John, which was a movie about porno. Still more titties in Rush.
It was the '70s, man.
I know there are a lot of tits in this movie, so it's great on that regards, if nothing else. But yeah, Olivia Wilde's in it. She's not really in it though. Alexander Lara plays Marlene. She's really good in this. It's actually just a strong cast across the board. There's no one who I can really pull out as being like that guy dragged the movie down. Great visual effects